Go on a trip and then get sick can cost a lot of dough, but you can save yourself the grief. Just plan before you go. Welcome back to My Travel Window, where we specialize in travel information to help you travel as far as you can while you still can. On a recent trip to Europe, which included an extended cruise, I came down with pneumonia. I sought treatment from the cruise ship medical center. My bill was almost $3,200. Fortunately, I was covered because of steps we took before our trip. This video covers the 5 tips that can protect you before your next international trip. Tip number 1, make sure you know your insurance coverage. Many people assume that their health insurance coverage will be the same when they travel outside the United States, but it's almost assuredly less and may be totally invalid. Seniors are often stunned to discover that traditional Medicare offers no coverage outside the U.S. and its protectorates. Zero, zilch, nada. Some Medicare supplements and some Medicare Advantage plans offer emergency coverage, but usually with a lifetime limit of $50,000 and only for the first 60 days of a trip. Make sure you know before you go. Tip 2, be prepared to pay up front. When I sought care at the cruise ship medical center, I was required to sign a form saying I would pay the full amount before I deboarded the ship 2 days later. My whopping bill was for about 5 hours worth of care, which included diagnostic tests, nebulizer treatments, and IV antibiotics. While other healthcare places may not demand the money quite as immediately, they will almost assuredly look to you to guarantee the payment. An added precaution here. Since you're submitting your own claims, make sure you can read the detailed billing presented by your provider. I spent hours trying to decipher the billing form, and I wish I had returned to the clinic and gotten clarification before waiting until I got home to sort it all out. Tip 3. 2 particular areas to watch for are drugs and transportation. My Medicare Advantage plan required me to submit 2 claims, one for the medical portion, one for the drugs. The medical portion paid $2,200, all but a $90 copay. But the drug portion was denied completely, leaving me with out-of-pocket costs of over $900 at that point. It turns out that Medicare-funded plans do not cover drugs administered outside this country. Who knew? Of even larger concern is the possibility of needing air transport as part of your care. Airlifts from a cruise ship or return flights to the U.S. for medical assistance can be super pricey. They may not be covered at all by your plan or may exceed your policy limits. For very little cost, you can purchase coverage of $250,000 or more for this kind of care. Tip 4. Purchase travel insurance with medical coverage as an added layer. In my mind, travel insurance is always a good idea. In our case, it was required by the cruise line to show proof of coverage for COVID. The cost will be based on age, coverage limits, the cost of your trip, and whether or not you want this to be primary or secondary coverage. Secondary coverage means it saves you money because it means they pay after the other coverages pay first. For this trip, our travel agent recommended Generali insurance. It includes $50,000 per person medical benefit and a $250,000 transport benefit, as well as other coverage in the event our trip was canceled or had some significant issue. The total cost was $900. It was this high because of the length and cost of our trip. The claims process turned out to be a bit daunting because you've got to prove that you actually went on the trip, then you have to describe the services, and then you have to document what everyone else paid. But at the end of the day, after a 6-week process, Generali covered all of the remainder of my cost. Last tip. If you go on multiple annual trips, consider annual insurance. This covers all the trips you take on a 365-day period with combined coverage limits. We're doing that this year, purchasing an annual policy through Alliance. Benefits are similar to what we purchased previously through Generali, but much more affordable if you make multiple trips within the year. On our last trip, following these suggestions saved us more than $3,000, and the stakes could have been much, much higher at that. If you have other suggestions or experiences, please share them in the comments below. Want more tips like these? Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you want the whole story behind my medical center visit on the Norwegian Epic, check out this video. Until next time, safe travels.